Hi everyone, Annette Kessler here with a new video tutorial, and today we are starting the 12 cards of Christmas series. So I'm going to start with a card that I got request to transform it from centimeters to inches. This card was inspired by Els Ham. I'll put the link to her Facebook reel under the video. Her instructions were in centimeters, and I got lots of requests from you to make it in inches. So I changed a few things, but this is the same card basically, more or less. And we're going to start with scoring a 6x6 square at 1.5 inches and 4.5 inches, but we're going to score it all the way down to 1.5 inches. So score it 1.5 inches until you reach the horizontal mark of 1.5 inches, and then we're going to do that on the other side as well. Basically what we're doing is scoring the corners. Now we're going to turn it 90 degrees and then again score it 1.5 and 4.5 inches. Now the score lines need to meet. If they don't meet, then turn back the card and score it the lines in the corners until they exactly meet. Otherwise your card will not fold properly. So I'm turning my card just to make sure that I score in the right place, and if your score line went a little bit too far, you can always rub it with the end of your bone folder, and that will basically eliminate or erase the score line. Next we are going to score one side at 1.5 inch all the way. So now we have, that's the bottom of the card, and we have the bottom score line as well. Next we are going to cut the card so it can be folded, and you have the instructions in the cutting guide in the description under the video. You can go ahead and download it, and there's a diagram there too. So we're going to mark along the bottom score line at 3 inches, which is the center, and then we're going to get a craft knife and cut diagonally from the corner of the corners to that 3-inch mark, and then along the bottom score line only in the center in between the corners. Now we can go ahead and start folding and then burnish the folds so everything will work properly. Now here is the thing. When you fold it according to the order, you fold the bottom, the top, the sides, and then the top again, and then the bottom. And then when you want to fold the sides again, you see that the corners get stuck. So in the original video, or Els Ham's tutorial, she cut off the corners. So you can go ahead and do that. But what I like to do is change the order of the fold. So I'm folding top, sides, and then bottom, and then top again, and you see that that solves the problem completely. When you play with it, you will see how that works. Next we're going to start to cover the card. Again, you have all the measurements, but the measurements are basic. We will need to cut all the pieces to fit the really weird shapes that we have on the card. So we're going to start with the 4 corners. That's pretty easy, just squares. And we always center the cover papers inside the score lines or the cut lines, because the cover papers are always smaller than the shape and the area that they're supposed to cover. So basically we have always margin, a little bit of a margin. I think that really adds to the look of the card. So once we've done the corners, we can go ahead and cover the bottom rectangle, the bottom space, with another piece. And of course the colors, the patterns are completely up to you. Just make sure that if you have writing or direction on your paper that you follow the exact order so you won't get anything upside down. Next, we're going to do the triangle, the center triangle. So we have our piece. We're starting with a square or a rectangle piece. And then I'm going to show you how to cut it to fit exactly that triangle shape. So I'm cutting it first. Now what we need to do is bring a ruler and a pencil and mark on the bottom. We need to create that triangle on the bottom. So what we're going to do is first mark on both sides 1.5 inches. Measure from the top on both sides 1.5 inches. And then on the bottom you measure the center, which is 1 3/8. Just make sure that you use a ruler. A little bit of measuring here, but we need to. So mark the center, which is 1 3/8. Now we're going to cut from the point on the left to the point on the bottom in the center diagonally, and then exactly on the other side as well. And now we have our cover paper. And we can go ahead and attach it, and it fits perfectly. Aren't you happy I made all the calculations for you? Make things so much easier and faster. Next, we are going to cut the two shapes on the sides. And basically, they are all the shapes that we're making now are the same shapes for the other side of the card, obviously. So what we're going to do is start with the basic square, and then we're going to measure 1 3/8 on the top, 1 3/8 from the end, from the corner. Just going to flip the paper because I can't see where I put the mark. So 1 3/8, and we're going to cut from that point to the far corner on the bottom, and that will give us that diagonal line that we need. And we're going to do the exact same thing on another shape. Just use the first shape as a template to cut and make it exactly the same. This will be a nice shortcut. So now you have those two shapes. So for the squares on the corners you will need 8. For these two pieces that we're now cutting and gluing you will need 4. And for that center triangle you will need 2 pieces. So you can go ahead and play with the colors and patterns and cut whatever papers you like for the card. So the way I do it is I want to make sure, like I said, that all the papers are in the right direction. So after I add my little embellishments or writing or message to the card, which by the way you can put anywhere on the card that you want, but of course you will have to plan ahead, because if you want to write on a piece of paper it will need to be white or very light solid color so you'll be able to write on it, and it can be anywhere in the card. So now I'm going to fold it and then make sure that the triangle is in the right direction, and then I'm going to flip the card. So now I know I don't change the direction. Now I know it's the right direction. So I'm going to glue all the other cover papers and then add more embellishments. So I'm flipping the card to reach all the areas that I need to cover, and I'm making sure that I'm always in the right direction. especially since I have papers with writing, so the direction matters. And this way you will not get confused. If this is confusing to you, then simply go with the paper that has no direction and then just cover all the pieces, and it won't matter which direction you are going. Okay, so we are almost done with covering the card. We just need to cover those two parts. And this is a 6x6 card. If you want to make a 7x7 or an 8x8, you simply make everything slightly bigger. You need to remember that the corners need to be square, and then you'd simply measure the center of the bottom score line and cut diagonally, and that's the secret of this card. Pretty easy. So I'm just adding a few embellishments. And then my card will be ready. Again, I always like to fold the bottom first before I finish with the entire cycle of folding, so the corners will not get stuck. I didn't trim the corners diagonally, but you can do that. And again, if you want to write something, then you can go ahead and do that on the bottom little rectangle there, or on the center triangle, or basically wherever you want. And you can always print something as well on your computer and then cut it to the same shape as we did the cover papers. Okay. See, now I forgot that I needed to fold the bottom first, so the corners got stuck. So I really hope you like this tutorial. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the little bell icon to be notified when I upload a new video, so you won't miss anything and you'll be able to follow all the tutorials and make all the projects. Stay tuned for the other 11 cards in the 12 cards of Christmas series. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.